everyone, and welcome back to Tidgney's GT Sport Driving School. We're on episode number 10, and this is all about psychology. So we're moving away a little bit from, how to drive, and this is more about your actual mindset. So we're going to look at three main areas. The first one is your initial mindset. So, as you enter an FIA race, for example, what are you thinking about? So are you going in knowing you've done a lot of practice and knowing that could have a positive impact? We're then going to look at the actual lobbies that you get matched up with. Are you looking at the drivers going, oh my word, I shouldn't be in here? Or are you looking at it and going, I should win this? Now we'll look at that like in a combined environment and how you can use that then to your advantage and potentially what you should be thinking at that point in time, because changing your mindset can actually have a positive impact on your racing. We're then going to look at what is happening during your race, so psyching out your opponents a little bit. So we're going to look at, do you write something in chat? Are you going to show your nose just to, get them off edge a little bit? Are you going to flash your lights? Are you going to fake going into the pits? Are you a driver known for maybe some dodgy driving? So we're going to look at the psyching out your opponents aspect, and then finally we're going to look at positive thinking. You guys know, if you watch any of my streams, any of my videos, I tend to try and think as positively as possible, irrespective of how bad the situation is. So, have you had a bad qualifying and suddenly, you're thinking, I haven't got a chance? Or are you going, I've had a bad qualifying, let's have a bit of fun here, let's try and learn something. We're then going to look at, the difference in cars, because sometimes, like lately with the extreme tyre wear, Alfa Romeo has very good tyre wear. Do you look at the cars and go, oh, I'm in a rubbish car, I can't do very well anyway? Or do you go, I'm in a rubbish car, let's try and make the most of what we've got. Let's see if we can actually, gain something from this. Gain some knowledge to help us in future races. And then finally, we're going to look at, just in general, how you can change anything that you see to a positive mindset, positive thinking, to try and get the best results that you can in any given situation in GT Sport. So, with all of that in mind, let's first go to the initial mindset. So as I said before, we're going to look at three main areas in this initial mindset. So practice. How does this help you, go into a race and be like, I can get a good result here? So we'll look at the FIA specifically, because that's the main competition I'm involved with at the moment in GT Sport. And I'll explain my thought process, why I'm doing stuff, why I've recently changed the way I practice in order to try and get better results. We're then going to look at the matchmaking system, and we're going to look at the OP lobbies, the ones where they're very stacked, versus the not so OP lobbies in the grand scheme of it, where you've not got 15 world finalists, you may only have 5 world finalists, and explain different mindsets you have in those lobbies, and how you can make sure that, irrespective of the lobbies, the OP ones or the not so OP ones, you can still try and get a good result or a good mindset that will help you get the best that you can. So let's jump to the practice first of all. So why am I talking about practice? And you can see this is an FIA training race in the background. Apologies for no audio and the slightly poorer quality. I've had to download this from my YouTube channel because I don't save the practice races. So why practice? What is the point of practice in terms of your mind? The psychology of practicing. Well, think of it this way, and I'm going to put this in my perspective, and then you can take this into your own perspectives, because each and every one of you are slightly different in your thought process in these races. So for the FIA, I stream those races. Now I've only recently started streaming the practice races, and the reason being is that I can understand when I can and can't talk to the stream while racing. It gets me comfortable, and comfortable is the critical word here, because if you're comfortable with something, you're less nervous. If you're less nervous, you can perform better, because your mind's not thinking about what ifs. You're just like, I know what's going to happen, here's what my strategy is, this is how I'd like to play it out. In the grand scheme of it, hopefully it should play out that way. It depends on how much practice you put in, and you get a real good understanding. So here you can see we're racing a fair few guys from all over the world. We've got America in here, we've got Germany, we've got all sorts in here in terms of countries. And we've got all sorts of different cars. It's a manufacturer series. So all I'm trying to do here is work out fuel strategy, brake balance, and you're going to see me change brake balance there. I'm trying to understand the car a little bit more. I'm trying to understand the track. if I can understand where I can talk to the stream. Can I talk to the stream on this corner? Yes or no? Therefore, when I go into the official combos, I'll understand where I can and cannot look at the stream. Fortunately, this track is nice and easy. It turns out there's lots of straights on the start-finish line. I can look at the stream then. I can also understand the slipstream. Where do I get dirty air? Where do I not get dirty air? And the more practice you put in, the more comfortable you will get with a combo. And the more comfortable you get, the better your mind will be. The more positive it potentially will be, because you understand what each car's strengths and weaknesses are. For example, I'm not only learning my car in this combo, I'm learning the Porsche in front. I'm learning the Mustangs behind. I'm learning about each individual car. So when it comes to the race, I'm comfortable. I know around about where I will be. I know around about which cars I'll be fighting with. I know their strategies potentially. I know my strategies because I'm practicing them right now. Can I fuel save enough? Do I need to fuel save? All of these little things can add up to make you more comfortable with a combo and therefore less nervous. So think about that with yourselves, guys, in terms of your preparation for a race, your practice for races. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the FIA. It could be any competition you're preparing for. As you can see there, I'm changing the fuel map. So does fuel map 6 help me? Does bumper drafting help me here? Think about this. If you know the strategies and you know the combos, you know the best car is, you know what the worst car is, you can be more comfortable with the combo and therefore perform better. It really is that straightforward. It's about being comfortable with a combination, therefore your mind is comfortable, you're less nervous, and you can compete as best as you can. Now let's look at what happens in the sort of the psychology, the initial mindset of the lobbies, the matchmaking system when you first get into one of these races. So here we have a lobby. Now we've already done qualifying, but ignore positions. Imagine you see this at the matchmaking screen. You've got names of Adam, Aug, Lightning, Giorgio, Parata, TX3 Adam at the bottom there. You see all sorts of names, and I've joined this lobby and you're like, should I really be in here? Am I really as fast as these guys? Now if you're thinking like that, when you're out on circuit, you're not going to be able to race these guys because you're going to think they're much faster than you, that you shouldn't make the move, or whatever it might be. You're just thinking, why am I here? If you take that and go, well actually, if I'm in here, I'm fast enough to race these guys. Suddenly your mindset changes to a positivity rather than negativity. Suddenly when you're on track you go, well, if I'm racing these guys, if I've been put in here, I should be able to race against these guys. Then you will start to make moves and start to make progress. Now you look at this lobby and you go, this is a super stat lobby, which it is, but you should still be able to make moves. Now if we switch this to, I would say, a less stat lobby. I mean, there's still some big names in there, like Sutsu. But I would say this is a fairly, much weaker lobby than the one I just showed you. But why would you change your mindset? In each given race you do, you should look at it and go, I'm in this lobby, I can win this lobby. Irrespective of who's in there. It doesn't matter if Sutsu's in pole, Lightning's in pole, or you're on pole. It doesn't matter. You should look at this lobby and go, I can win this. I've been put in this lobby. Let's do this. Let's do the best I can. I can race anybody in this lobby on track. Now, if you take that mindset, that positivity, I guarantee you, you will do better in any given race. So keep that in mind when thinking about the lobby loading, the matchmaking, and the race you are about to enter. And if you notice, all of that has literally been positive thinking. How to change your mindset from some form of negativity to positivity. And that's what I'm on about with initial mindset. Take away the fact that there's all these egos and people here, there and everywhere, and just look at it as 20 racers. You can beat these racers. If you put your effort in, you get the right mindset, anything is achievable. So now we're on to positive thinking, as you can tell by the fact the word positive thinking is in the background. And what we're going to look at here is, again, changing that negativity to a positivity, but in certain situations. Obviously, mainly qualifying here, and car differences or balance of performance. Because obviously there are some issues in there with balance of performance. How can you still change those negatives to positives? And literally, in the end, changing everything you can think about in a race to a positive in your favour will always give you a better outcome. So you can see here I've qualified stone dead last. I recently did a video on this as well, which is on the channel. Basically, completely bombed qualifying. And for some people, they would turn this into a negativity. Some people would even leave the race, the lobby or whatever, if they did this. Rather than look at it and go, anything can happen in a race. I'm starting in last, yes. Now on the stream, I actually said let's do a last to first challenge. Why not? Let's turn it into something positive. Let's have some fun here. You never know, you might learn something different that you didn't know about the car. You may still have a fantastic race. Remember, the competition is not the be-all and end-all to everything. Do you know what I mean? You can still have good races with anybody in this field, as I said just before. Irrespective of the lobby names in there, in this situation there's 18 other guys in there. Let's have a fun and exciting race. So instantly I go with positivity rather than negativity. I can then go, okay, I can still have a good race here. So you can see the RDR8 then loses the rear end. So I think, excellent, here we go, down the inside. We can already have a good race. And I do this mindset in any single game. It doesn't even have to be racing. As long as I go in there with positivity, I know what I'm doing, I know what I want to try, I know what I enjoy, which is racing in this situation. Let's have a bloody good race. So you can see that we've made a position. And happy days, we then go and have a very interesting race where we are smiling throughout it. And here's the end of the race. With P14, we've gained 5 places. Doesn't matter how we've gained them. We've gained them through clean, fair racing. Look at the bottom left-hand side. I'm smiling. The positivity is there. I can take that into future races. You know, I've had a laugh. I've had some enjoyment. I've had some good races in there. Some good battles in there. It's all positive. It's not negative. The whole point that I'm trying to explain here is positive thinking, irrespective, will help you in a race. Doesn't matter where you start. You know, if you start P10, think positive, you can always go forward. Don't think negative, that you go back. You're going forward. Think forward. And that is what you need to do. So here we are at Red Bull Ring, and everybody knows that this was a non-stop strategy, basically. To win the race quite easily, it was non-stop. And in the Audi TT, unfortunately, even the non-stop was slower than our one-stop. So we're in our own little race, but we're thinking positive here. We're just trying to get out in front. Now, TB37 had been defending for a lap. See, he's defending here again. I didn't actually want him to defend here, to be fair, but he decided to do that. So I'm just going to wear his tyres down a little bit. But the thing I'm going to get at here is the fact that I'm thinking positively now into the future. So TB37 defending hard on harder tyres. He's going to wear them down a lot more than if he was just taking racing lights. So I'm thinking in the future, and you can check the live stream, I did say this as well, there's a potential of him causing a traffic jam later on with a lot of people trying to get past who are saving their tyres. SVDR, for example, in 4th place, was on his own race. And I did talk about this earlier on, you know, practice, know your own strategy, and just do your own race. You're very happy in your mindset. SVDR doesn't mind that we're fighting ahead. He knows the strategy. He knows what will work well. So, you know, he's in his own place there where he knows what's going to happen towards the end of the race, and the potential for victory is there for him. I was thinking here, I want to get past, I want to just push on as fast as I can, get on the softer tyre, and then push and try and make up as many positions as possible. Try and keep it positive. Indie sort of got in the way of that a little bit with a few punts here and there, and the fact we got a penalty as well. But even so, we advanced to lap number 10. I'm going to fast forward this bit because it's a whole lap, and I've done 2 videos on this now, so if you want to see this, really go check them out. But, you know, we're just making positions here. And what I said earlier on about the traffic jam actually happened. So SVDR, as I said, was in the distance, miles away. Non-stop was way faster. But TB37 had held up a lot of the other non-stoppers. So at this point, the advantage is actually to the softer tyre, because we're on about the same sort of tyre wear, but obviously the softer tyre will have a bit more grip than a worn medium tyre on the same sort of wear. So you can see up ahead now there's this traffic jam. So this has helped us out massively. So staying positive about it, sort of anticipating that there's going to be a traffic jam, has actually helped us stay in the race. I could easily give up in the race and be like, okay, I've got a pit, I'm going to be miles behind. But I don't. I sort of stay in it. And here I am, having nice battles. I can see P2 up ahead, which is where I would have liked to have been, to be honest. You know, it's where I started at the end of the day. It's actually worked out fairly okay. TB37 is there. Obviously, he's really worn his tyres. And we get another position there up to P5. So you can see how a bit of positive thinking, even though my car is weaker in terms of the tyre strategy, has actually worked out fairly well, because you can easily give it up, especially after some of the punts as well earlier on. But because I didn't, and I kept going, I kept on it, I kept, you know, trying to stay positive, at the end of the day, I come out at the end of this race in P6, which overall in the grand scheme of it is worse than P1 where I was, or P2 where I started. But I could have come last, and I didn't. I tried to keep my mindset positive. I Again, positive thinking. Whether it's the strategy, whether it's the cars, worse compared to the others, whether I've had a bad qualifying, stay positive in every given situation and you will have better results. I guarantee it. I promise you. It's hard to stay positive, but try to do the best that you can. So now we get onto a subject which I think you'll be a little bit more intrigued or interested. I'm not sure what the right word is, which is psyching out your opponents. You can read that now on the screen. Obviously, the first subjects we've done, and we did change this around a little bit from the introduction, it's all been about yourself, you know. Initial mindsets, staying positive, positive thinking in bad situations. Now we're going on to what you can do to influence your opponent's psychology, which is very interesting in its own little way. So, we're going to look at 3 aspects. Write something in chat. Showing your nose to make an overtake, or at least racing actions which can cause things to happen that benefit you. And then we're going to look at drivers who potentially bring some form of psychology to the track that can actually impact yourself, or you could impact them. So yeah, let's get on to writing something in chat. So here we have a live stream that happened. Again, I've downloaded this, so it's a bit less of quality. This was a lobby where I hadn't done any practice at all whatsoever. I literally just turned up and went straight into the race. So you'll notice that quite often in every live stream, I'll always wish everyone good luck, have fun. And that's literally to get some positivity into myself and to other people as well, because that normally gives a better race. But what you are going to see from me in just a second, because Manu Rodri there just types my name with an unhappy face, is I'm actually going to put what the reason was, or the reason behind why I came 14th, which was 0 practice. Now, the fact I say 0 practice then will potentially confuse other people, and it's not meant to, but the psychology can be there that they go, oh, Tidgneys done 0 practice. So anybody behind me might be like, he won't know what to do in the race. Anybody ahead of me is probably then a bit more confident in thinking that I won't get anywhere. Anyway, I finished that race. I did gain positions, I think, in that race. But anyway, we come to the slot after, basically, in the Nations Cup. And again, the same thing. Good job to anybody ahead of me. It's top 3, or if it's less there. And then it's good luck, have fun again. Indian food, look, hadn't practiced since Monday. Quite often this puts it in there. Omega crashed on my purple lap. And then I've put a bit of practice later. Again, putting a bit of practice later then is a bit more significant, because then it means I've practiced a little bit. Now, during the race, I actually knew the strategy at that point on what to do. So I actually performed very well in this race. I gained a position and nearly ended up winning the race, actually. If I'd have actually practiced with a fuel strategy, there's potential that I could have won that race. But even so, there's the idea there that I'm putting this information in that I've not practiced, and a bit of practice later, the improvement that people then go, okay, yeah, Tidge is obviously going to know what he's doing now. So here we are with another one. This time I've qualified on pole. Woohoo! But I did practice for this one, so you know, I had a chance of pole. And in the left side, you can see oops from Lightning. I mean, Lightning in last. What the heck's going on there? So instantly that, you know, upsets the room a little bit. There's some psychology, especially for the guys 19th, 18th, 17th, 16th, sort of that bottom end of the grid. They're going to be like, oh my word, Lightning's behind me. There's other people there, like McLaren, purple sector 2, so suddenly that could go in the favour of some people in the fact that, oh, he's made a mistake. Chances he's making another mistake. All these little bits of conversation can all impact your psychology during the race. I mean, don't take them to heart, because some people might play on that, but, you know, this does exist. You know, if you're writing a comment, just be careful of how it impacts other people. So we're now going to look at how some of your actions can affect the psychology of other drivers, or they might try these actions to affect you. So these are basically moves which may not necessarily be on, but because you've done something, you essentially cause the driver to react before it's even happened. It's kind of interesting, but you'll see this a lot in real life with the flashing of the lights. Obviously that's psychology, that's to get into the head of the driver in front, flashing your lights. Get out the way, get out the way. We don't really do that in Gran Turismo, mainly because half of us don't have rear view mirrors, so it doesn't really matter that much. But some of the other actions that you will see in real life, that you will also see in virtual racing, is sort of like showing your nose. So here we are behind SVDR. We're coming up to a hairpin. I'm just going to show my nose here a little bit here. I wasn't going for the move, but it forces him to brake a little bit later. Notice how he misses the apex. So that's because I showed my nose. So he's trying to outbrake me. So last lap, he's trying to outbrake me going into that corner. So he missed the apex a little bit. He managed to get it stopped, so well played. We now go to Nuno Andrade here. And I'm miles behind here. So I'm going to show my nose here. I brake. So I come off the brakes and go back on the brakes again. And the reason I do that is because Nuno gave me a lot of space there on the inside. So he either wanted to let me go, or he saw me show my nose and sort of was like, okay, yeah, he's going to go for this. Where I initially wasn't, and then I realised he'd let me, so I then went into the corner. Now let's switch that round to with somebody attacking me now. So Heiser's about to attack me here. He's right behind me. And this is what I'm thinking in my head. I'm thinking if he goes for this move, he's going to have to really risk it to overtake me here. So he's showing his nose. It doesn't affect me. I turn in. I managed to hit the apex. Or nearly hit it at least anyway. But it didn't affect me that much. And that's because my car was better on the brakes. But there's every chance that Heiser was doing that to get into my head. Oh, I'm going to be on the inside of you, Tidge, coming into this corner. You're going to have to give me space. Because the minute I run wide, I'm on the grass. Or I lose a lot of time. He then gets a position ahead of me. And on this particular lap here, for example, my tyres are shot. It's a front-wheel drive car. I'm about to pit in. My tyres are going to be ruined. So if he gets ahead, he gains a significant advantage over me. So it's a very well-placed effort in terms of showing your nose, but it doesn't quite pull off for Heiser in this situation. As you saw with Nuno, I showed my nose. I broke around the same time as Nuno. Realised he gave me a lot of space there, so I just let off the brakes a little bit to make sure I then was on the inside. Got that position. And the one versus SVDR didn't quite work. But you can see how showing your nose has an impact, because the driver thinks you're going to go for a lunge. You might not necessarily go for it, but they may run wide. It gives you that advantage. You can flash your lights. Obviously, we don't do that in GT Sport as much, but, you know, the potential's always there to flash your lights still. I do that to mates occasionally in this game. I mean, it's other things as well. Like braking really late if you're defending. That can impact the psychology of the other driver, because if you're diving and braking dead late, that driver might not want to overtake you at the risk of being hit off. So keep all this in mind. You know, your actions can have reactions even though you're not going to go for that move. You're not going to go for the dive. But, you know, you show your nose just in case you leave enough space. You know, they're trying to race clean and you get it done. As I say, keep that in mind. Let's get on to the final part of this, which is sort of like personalities and how they can impact your psychology in racing. So here we are at the Red Bull Ring once again. Now, if you had to profile anybody in this lobby, the one person you're probably going to profile in this one is Indie Food. Now, I'm using Indie Food as the example here because it's the most recent example of this and probably the best recent example of this as well. I have nothing against Indie Food in any way, shape or form. Other people might do, but I don't. So Indie Food is very well known for being a bit too aggressive, very push to pass, likes to be the last of the late breakers, you know, all that sort of thing really. So you know he's going to be aggressive in any given situation. So while this live stream was going on, I was like, hopefully Indie Food doesn't get involved with me. And that's psychology. That is psychology in a nutshell, because I'm worried about Indie Food. We've not even started the race yet and I'm worried. So that's really had an impact on my race. So we'll go to lap number 4 here. Indie Food's made it past a couple of guys. I'm in the lead at this moment in time. And I am slightly worried. I realised Indie Food was on the same strategy as me. So coming out of here, Indie Food's going to try the show the nose manoeuvre. Goes for the last of late breakers. I'll leave him a BMW size space. He contacts me on my rear quarter there. It costs us both a significant amount of time on a one-stop strategy where the other guys are on 0 stops. So, you know, it costs us a little bit of time. This instantly causes me frustration. Bit of psychology in there, you know. What happens if you start pushing somebody? I've seen this several times with other players as well. This is just the most recent example where players can push, then suddenly that player pushes back. So you can see Indie Food here showing his nose again. He's trying to get me to move, make a move, cause some form of defensive driving, really slow me down. But I'm not doing that here. He hits me again. Now, a lot of people will start getting really angry at this point. You know, getting really under their feathers here. Because they've been hit a couple of times now. It's causing a significant problem to their strategy. You know, it's all this, you know, positive place, know where you are, know where you stand in the race sort of thing. It's now going out the window because one driver is stopping that happening. Now, I'm trying to keep my cool here, you know, because I understand what's going on here. I understand the driver. You know, I'm trying to keep psychology out of my mind. I still got my strategy in my head. So, again, we come into here. I know he's going to try the exact same move at this point. Show his nose and try and go down the inside, even though we're coming in the pits this lap. So I give him even more of a space this time to make sure he doesn't hit me. And he takes it. He doesn't hit me this time. And we now go side by side. Again, a bit of a silly move if we run a zero stop, but it's indie food. I knew he was going to do that. Again, the psychology there, you understand the driver profile. Let's come into here. We brake slightly late here because we're on the inside. We come in the pits. We get a tap as Indie straightens his wheel, and we get a penalty. Now, you can imagine my frustration at that. I mean, why are we getting a penalty? We've literally just been punted off. So at this point, I'm now in my head thinking, I'm just going to do the same as Indie basically. I'm going to react in the same way Indie would normally do in terms of last and late breakers, which is bad, and I shouldn't have done it. But again, it's psychology. He's got under my feathers at this point. He's hit me so many times. I'm now going to do the same to him. So coming down to this corner, I'm going to brake. You'll see me come off the brakes slightly again. I'm basically going to run him wide here. And I do that on purpose. And that's sort of a show to say, don't do it. And I really shouldn't have done it. Then I'm thinking about the penalty. I'm like, oh crap, I'm in the middle of the road here. So, you know, a bit of bad driving there, but the psychology is there. He's got right under my feathers there at that point. And it's really, really, really frustrated me. And that also impacted later on in the race. And the reason why he got this profile was because I think this was the round before, maybe 2 rounds before. The action's coming up of what happened. Now I lost the car there and Grass went into the barrier. So that's completely my fault. I accept the 5-second penalty there. And I was trying to help Grasser get going then. So a bit of psychology in there. Let's push Grasser along. Let's get him back up to speed. That was our fault. Let's get on with it. Now I want you to focus now on the radar in the bottom right hand side of your screen. Look at that radar. There's arrows. Look at that arrow come flying in from nowhere. I couldn't turn in. I saw it happening, so I avoided it. He's hit another driver in unfazed. So he's gained like 2 or 3 positions there. So at this point, in reality, you should give that back. You know, sportsmanship driving, you give it back. You've just fired yourself in there. Maybe you've missed your braking point, whatever it may be, you know. Anything could happen there. Everyone makes mistakes, but you don't give it back. So he got that profile from that, and a couple of people spotted this and were like, hey, you can't do that. So, you know, the live stream then was on about it, and, you know, people were on about it. And then, obviously, when we got to that other race, we knew there was a possibility of that happening. Now, it's not only Indy's profile. I mean, look here, Williams Koke. Don't win now, please, Lightning. You know, when Lightning qualified in the last. Lightning has this profile of just being unbeatable, unstoppable, you know, so fast. Personally, I think Lightning's the best driver in the world at GT Sport. And look, that profile is there. And again, it's psychology at the end of the day. I see him as the quickest driver in the world. I see Indy Food as being a bit aggressive at the moment. People, when they race me, they expect a very clean race with me. And they usually get it. That means they also drive a bit cleaner with me than they do other people. I have seen that as well. All this is psychology, you know. I like to drive with that person because I know he races clean. I don't like to drive with that person because I know he races dirty, so I'm going to be really aggressive against him. You know, this all happens, and it's all in the mind. All in the mind. At the end of the day, we're all the same human beings. You know, we're all racing the same game. We're all in the same lobby. All very similar settings. And then all this psychology comes in and impacts the race. So a bit of an interesting episode, this one, guys. I realise that. Very hard to demonstrate in video footage as well, so I'm sorry if this isn't the best of episodes, but it's taken a hell of a long time to make, and yeah, it is what it is at the end of the day. It's very hard to explain. Psychology, you know, it's basically getting into people's minds, understanding that positivity is better than negativity, just all that stuff. Now, you know me, even in real life, I try and stay as positive as I can, as I do on the live streams, and that is so that I can get the best performance out of myself. But that's going to be it for me now, guys. Thanks very much for watching this episode in the driving school. I will see you in the next episode, I guess, which is going to be episode number 11, which is going to be, let me check, it's going to be about the competition, which we've sort of done already, but this is more individual players and understanding what we're doing for an individual competition. So I will see you for that one. Thanks very much for watching.